This episode is brought to you by 20 Past 4, your one-stop vape and head shop. They get new stuff weekly. Stop in and check them out. 4 locations, 2 in Great Falls, 1 in Helena, 1 in Billings, and Guerrilla Warfare Apparel. The best gear in the fight world. Join the Guerrilla Gang in 2023 because we are taking over. Be sure to use our code TWB10 for 10% off at checkout. That's TWB10 at checkout. And Jamie St. Mark's.
Who's ready for the weekly bust? You're in the right place if you came to catch the show. Tithe and Levi are the names of your host. Who the next guest is, I really wanna know. Conversation escalating, let's get to the show. Who's ready for the weekly bust?
We are live.
Live, man.
The most dangerous man. The world's most dangerous man.
Ken Shamrock. What's going on, man?
Thanks for coming on the bus, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Roll them.
Yeah, welcome to the show, man. We're super happy to have you on, by the way. This is over the moon. This is a milestone for the show in itself. You are the man, the living legend himself that's on our show. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. I am jazzed
man,
right now.
I'm happy to be here, man.
Yes, sir.
So if we keep looking up at the other direction, it's because we're looking up at our slide. We have it off to the left of us, and
that's also where our monitor's at. Our camera's over here, so we're working on that. But
we're
looking at you is what we're doing, actually.
So the fun thing about going live with anybody, Ken, is that we allow our guests to ask questions as we roll. I don't know if you've ever had this happen, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. Let's especially I love hearing the fans and some of the things that they've got to say, the questions that they come up with.
So
yes, me too.
So for the potential viewers who do not know who you are, now is a good time. We like to do in the opening of the show is to have the guest given a description from themselves, who they are, where they came from, and what they're about.
Absolutely. My name is Ken Shamrock, a.k.a. World's Most Dangerous Man, a.k.a. Ken the Rock Shamrock. Got those in my world of fighting. Grew up in Georgia, man, had a rough upbringing in and out of juvenile hall. Ended up going into a group home, worked my way through the group home, got adopted, went to college, started changing my life a little bit, got an opportunity to go over to Japan, fight in what we call pancrase, which was what we now know as mixed martial arts. I started over in Japan, became the first American champion.
Let's go! USA. The first
American champion, the first pancrase champion, period. Even though it was Japanese, I was still the first champion.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
Became the very first super fight champion, which is what they do today. The same.
Oh, no, what happened to him?
I don't know. Hello?
Ken, we lost you for a moment. Well, listen. While he gets back in, we're gonna. Okay, he's loading up. There he is. We lost you for a moment.
Nope.
You're back.
Got it. I don't know how much you guys missed, but yeah, just UFC Hall of Fame, Wrestling Hall of Fame, world champion in mixed martial arts, and champion in the world of wrestling.
I got to ask you a question.
Tag team champion.
With that list of titles and that little bit of history, do you have clones out there? Because how can one man do it all
and be everywhere?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy on the stuff I accomplished, but fortunate for me, when I did these things, it was kind of all in a row, because when I first started, I fought over Japan and won their title over there in mixed martial arts, then got into the UFC and won their title, then went into pro wrestling and won some of the titles there, and then went back into MMA again and won some more titles. So it was kind of a great, journey for me, because everything just kind of, as I went, I just kind of won. Wherever I went, I won.
Yeah, you have a trail of titles and accomplishments and accolades to prove it. You earned an accolade in your nickname in itself. In the early part of your UFC career, ABC News named you the world's most dangerous man on a special they called The World's Most Dangerous Things. What do you think about that, and how'd that make you feel hearing it for the first time?
Well, when I first heard it, I was very skeptical, because if you remember back in the day, when we first started fighting in the UFC, it was not looked good upon. People thought we were like these guys that came out of prison or came out of the back brawl, fought on the street, killed people. We weren't human beings, we were animals. So when they came up with this thing and said they wanted me to be this world's most dangerous man, my mind, because I had kids and a family and everything, and I was always trying to represent the sport professionally, I was like, well, hold up. What are you guys trying to do here? Portray well in the media that often. So when they laid it out to me, they were going to bring my family into it, and they were going to show us as human beings and that we were normal human beings like everyone else. I was like, okay, now this sounds like something I could get into.
So, okay, so did
and dominate.
Did that like build a character later on that you eventually brought over into, you know, the promotions such as, you know, WWF, and like did it create an alter ego by chance when, you know, when the lights went on and off?
Well, I think I was already that, though. So it really, when that nickname came up, I was kind of already that. I was this fighter, bare knuckle, you know, intense individual. I grew up on the streets. So really, that was just, it was me. I didn't have to create a character because I was already a character.
Right. And like so your name has been fun to, like, for me anyways, because we were just watching part of a podcast that you did with another man who also has a name that's similar to yours. Is the world's scariest man, was Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
that was a good.
And it's funny because I did his podcast, and you know, you have the world's most dangerous man, and then you have the world's baddest man.
Yeah, yeah, that's so cool, man.
In one room,
two legends, man. How come the conversation, you know, because he entered WWF actually during your time, I think, that with his little rivalry and all that stuff with Stone Cold. I was curious to why that didn't boil down to you as well, as you both came from professional fighting.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, because I was the one that they had called him out. I remember I was getting a ring, and I called him all these names and told him I want to fight him. And then when he came to the WWF, I thought they were building something for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
They ended up giving it to Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, you know, I noticed that, and I seen that you have been inducted to both WWF Superstars, right, and the UFC Hall of Fame, who Levi just recently brought up. He's like, they just merged, you know, so
they're now a $20 billion company combined, and you've done both. Like, watching that progression, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, you know, it's
helping
crazy
make
because
those.
Like back when I did it, I was in the UFC. I was at the peak of my career, and because of some things that happened in the UFC, and I wasn't able to really, you know, make the money I needed to support my family, I had to do something else. So I went into pro wrestling, and I remember when I went there, I got called a sellout, and you know, all kinds of things were being said on the combat space because they didn't like the idea I was going into pro wrestling. And I did it because I felt like when I went in there, I felt like I could still kind of do all the same stuff and the moves in wrestling that I did in fighting. And it could make a great transition. I wasn't sure, but I thought that, you know, why not give it a try? And so when I did it, it really worked out well. It was a great transition. You know, they really built the world's most dangerous man up.
Yeah.
Even though I got it through the, you know, a TV thing, these guys really helped solidify that world's most dangerous man with the character that I brought into pro wrestling, which was from UFC. So, and then again, like I said, people didn't buy into it. For a long time, it wasn't for about a year and a half that people started to accept it and go, wait a minute, this is pretty good. And now you see there's been, you know, 3, 4, 5 different, you know, tremendous fighters make that transition into pro wrestling, and I did it first.
I was gonna mention that. I'm so happy you did it yourself, because I was gonna say you pioneered so many things, including that transition. Because now we have stars like Brock Lesnar who went over, you know, and you know many, and not only that, there's a lot of different athletes that brought from different genres as well. It was
Ronda Rousey was a tremendous wrestler when she went over too. She did a tremendous job.
Yeah, she held it down.
Along with Brock Lesnar and many others.
A lot of people don't know that you also did Impact as well, and you got inducted to their Hall of Fame as well. So the list goes on. In all of your wrestling history, I have. When I was younger, I was obsessed with Sting, man. Did you ever come across Sting?
I met him, yes. Great guy. The thing about wrestling is that you see a lot of characters there, but a lot of the fans, other than maybe going to meet and greets and stuff like that, but they still got to be in character.
Yeah,
don't really get to know the guys behind the scenes. And wrestling has got a lot of great individuals, a lot of good people.
That was one of my main questions. Is that like sometimes like you hear a lot of the behind the scenes shit that people didn't get along, and I've always wondered if Sting was actually the cool guy that he appeared to be to everyone.
Yeah, I've never heard anything bad about him. Obviously, everybody has their riffs, that rub wrong against different individuals, because there's so many guys that are there that not everybody is going to get along. Characters are going to clash. It's just the way of the business. But again, like I said, I didn't know anyone in my career that when I was there, or even heard about anyone that nobody could deal with in a locker room. I mean, I'm sure that there were some guys that you didn't want to be in the locker room with when it came to the stench. They never lost their gear. But as far as, character and stuff like that, wrestling always had a way of putting those guys back in line.
Speaking of characters, you fought one of the biggest characters in the entire planet, the most electrifying man in the world, The Rock, and you won.
Yeah, that was a tremendous program. I worked with him. We both were very young going into wrestling. When we got to work together, it really helped both of us sharpen our skills and really rise to the occasion. He got the shot, going up and being able to challenge for the heavyweight title. I ended up getting the Intercontinental title and running a few programs with the Intercontinental title. I tell you, it was amazing to work with him. He was very, very talented. The minute I remember, I started working with him when he was part of the Nation, and then they separated him, and we were doing singles. And they would come in every now and then. But once they handed him the mic, game over. The guy was a star when he put the mic in his hand.
Yep, yeah, he was. There's one thing that you can have it all, but sometimes you can freeze on the mic, and he didn't do that. He just always delivered a fantastic speech.
I was going to say some of his, some of those are like some of my favorite videos to watch. Just old Rock interviews or. Like Ultimate Warrior type stuff, and it's
Ultimate Warrior was mad.
And then nowadays with like the meme clips and they're clipping all the stuff together, it's awesome. I love it.
So you mentioned bringing over moves from combat sports into wrestling. One of those moves is a signature move that you pioneered, and you might as well trademark as well, is the goddamn ankle lock. Let's go.
Absolutely, man. I mean. And a lot of people keep bringing it up. Aren't you mad that Kurt Angle took your ankle lock, or that somebody else was making? I was like, when somebody first did the suplex, do you think that somebody got mad because somebody copied it?
No, it's an honor.
It's an honor because you've done something that you know is going to stick, that people are going to continuously use throughout wrestling. When I came into wrestling, there was probably a few submission holds, and the only way somebody would give up in a submission match was they had to verbally say, I quit. The tap out was non-existent. I mean, guys would hit the mat and all that, but that was over. When I came in, I solidified the submission hold with the tap out.
So do you still have a relationship with Vince at all?
Sorry about that? What was that?
Do you still have a relationship with Vince McMahon?
Oh, it's so hard. Again, Vince has got a lot going on. I have not spoken to him since I left wrestling and started pursuing MMA again. But it's not like, there was any bad feelings or anything. It was just time for me to move on.
Sure. Yep. That makes sense. Now that you are into, your post-fighting career, or it seems like it, you never know with you, but you right now you're taking the boss role and you're pioneering something else as well, and you're going into a whole new avenue. If you want to break it in yourself, that would be excellent, because I would love to hear it
from
from
your little tag right there. If you guys have been watching. Let's talk about it. Valor BK.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's something that I actually told myself way back when they started putting gloves on fighters, and I realized they were trying to sell this as being safer. And once the gloves, the little 4-ounce gloves that they put on the MMA fighters, and we were starting to use those things, I realized that they didn't, and the way that they sold it wasn't necessarily true, which was they put gloves on fighters to be able to protect the fighters. And that's not true. They put gloves on fighters to protect the hand so that guys didn't break their hand and then they couldn't fight again in the same night. Because remember, we fought 3 or 4 times in one night.
Tournaments, yeah.
So they were trying to keep these guys protected so they could make it to the finals healthy. The problem with that is that when they were protecting the hand, they didn't realize that you're creating more damage to the brain by protecting the hand. And so I told myself, and it took away submissions. The chokes were very difficult to get. The heel hooks, ankle lock, all that stuff.
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard that.
Glove.
That's
it's hard to do. So that's why submissions went way down wearing a glove. And so I felt like, at that time I thought to myself, if I ever had the chance to, bring back the pure bare knuckle of it, I would. And then when my career ended, I had that opportunity because I started seeing these guys that were calling it bare knuckle, but they were taping their hands all the way up to the knuckle. And I kept saying to myself, that's not true bare knuckle. That's not it. So I said, all right, here's my chance to really put something together and show people what true bare knuckle is. But at the same time, I also wanted to make it more fan friendly, more exciting for the fans, and also more friendly for the fighters. So I had to go back and dig into my bag of tricks of everything that I learned throughout my career. And I went in, I thought to myself, if I was going to fight in something, what would I fight in to make fans more exclusive in the fight, like feeling like they're a part of it.
Right.
And I came up with the idea of taking down the actual ropes in the cages. And it was risky because when you're fighting, you don't realize, and most people don't realize, that as fighters, we don't think about being kept in. Right? We don't think about having to be forced into fight. So when I took it down, it was more of as a fighter going, well, we really don't need that. They're in the way of the fans watching the fight, so let's just take them down. With no thought about, well, the fighter's going to be able to stay in, because that, to me, as a fighter, that was never a problem.
Right.
So we took it down. Once we took that down, I wanted to think, well, how do we make the fights more exciting? Like, how do you make the fights faster and not let it slow down, especially when you're just doing stand-up?
Sure.
And the one thing that always captured my eye when I watched boxers fight was the fact that they would always clinch when someone would get hurt. They'd grab them and try to hold them until they could regain consciousness. And I said, that's cheating, man. Let's take that out. Let's make sure that they keep their reps, but make them punch out of clinches. Mm-hmm. So we took out no clinching. And the next thing was, like when I talked a little bit earlier about the tape, we want it to be true bare knuckle. Not somebody call it bare knuckle and then have tape all the way up to the knuckles, because that to me is cheating. We want it to be God-given talent. So we took the tape off. And then when we did our first event, nobody knew how it was going to go. The vision I had there was something that was risky.
So new and unique.
Yeah. Well, it's a different event no matter what these other guys are doing. Having no rope, no cages, no clinching, no tape. It's much different than what all the other bare knuckles are doing.
I do like that, like slanted.
Exciting visual. It's a visual explosion for the fans. And so that's why I think within the probably next year and a half, Valor's going to take over that industry, the bare knuckle industry.
It is, we were just investigating and doing some digging on it, and me and Levi, when we first got a picture, we looked at it together for the first time, and we're looking at the arena, and we're like, yo, what the fuck? It's sick.
Yeah, I like it, like how it dips in. It's just a circle.
Yeah, it's like a karate platform, and like it's open to where you were saying, like you can...
But how many times big enough to move?
How many times have you, as a fan, been sitting out there, or even when we're working the media, been like, I can't see shit?
Right.
That's insane, man. It's so new 100%. And so unique. It's awesome, man.
It is, and it's fun to watch too. You go to a live show, man. It feels like you're in there with them.
So I guess this brings up the question is, what's your roster currently looking like? Are you currently looking for bare knuckle fighters and warriors? Because Montana is a fight state, man.
Yeah, we just did a tryout. That's actually where I'm at right now, in a B&B home, because we've been here. We're going to be here for 9 days. We did a tryout. Yesterday here in Jacksonville, Florida, to find some talent, because we're traveling around before our fight. We're doing a fight in the fourth quarter. Don't want to announce the date yet. We'll do that at a later time. But in the fourth quarter of this year, we're doing a fight. We're doing tryouts prior to that. We already have our main event. We have a semi-main event. But now we're going to fill the card. But we want to find some guys that have great stories, good backgrounds that we can promote, but also have good skills, good fighting skills in the ring. So we're doing these tryouts to find that combination. And if you've got that great background story and you're a good fighter, come apply at valorbk.com, man, because we are doing tryouts, and we are looking for those guys that want to fight on the undercard. And not only that, we've got other fights that will be coming up. And if you're one of those fighters that can be, headline a card or be on the main card, definitely hit us up, because we're looking for all kinds of guys that want to come in and show their talent, the toughness of true bare knuckle.
Absolutely.
There you go, Montana, if that's what you're looking for.
You pitched it perfect, and then you used a key word in this. If you have an interesting story, well, I got one for you, actually. I have a gentleman named Sean Ispin. His son named Ryan started training MMA as a student in kids classes in Ken Shamrock's Lion Dead Submission Academy in Chula Vista, way back in 2000, after his cousin in the Lions Den OG, Jerry Bolander, put you guys in touch, and Ryan got to train under Ken's fighters for years. Stayed with Tony Galindo, and yep. And after Ken closed the locations in San Diego, he's currently he trained really well. He earned a belt at Fusion Fight League MMA under the 145 division. And he's currently got a fight under BKFC in June, but he's also looking and super interested in Valor BK.
So,
yeah, check us out, man. Go to our website, because, like I said, we're looking for those guys. We are obviously our next show in the fourth quarter. We've got our main event. We've got a semi-main event, so we're pretty locked in on that. But we have other fights coming up if you're that guy that thinks you're a main card fighter. But if you want to be under the undercard, go to our website, valorbk.com, and check it out, man, because we are looking for fighters, and we'll let you know when our next tryouts are.
Awesome.
Okay.
How did your current tryouts go down there in Jacksonville?
Good. We handpicked 20 guys to come in. We obviously, if it's that's why I'm saying people to go to the website, because we're just not doing an open tryout like I did with the Lions Den. Because there's too many people, like even with the Lions Den, sometimes we had 30 people show up. So we want to be a hand selected. We hand selected 20 fighters to come and do this tryout. And we had a great turnout, a lot of good stories, a lot of tough kids. So we're building our roster, and if you're interested in fighting bare knuckle with Valor BK, come check us out.
Did you find any talent that you signed that day, or are you still like looking in the process? Did you find anyone that stood out to you in particular?
Yeah, we got some people that we're interested in. Obviously, because we're doing 2 more and maybe 3 more before our next event,
sure,
tryouts. We can't tell these guys that they're in, because there's still other fighters we're looking at.
Absolutely.
But we liked what we saw, and so the next tryouts are going to have to be really good in order to knock some of these guys off, because there was some good talent on this.
Florida appears. Oh, go ahead, Levi.
Oh, I just had a. No, go ahead. My question was
so Florida has a gang of fighters. That it seems to be a really, really tight fight community, as much as Montana is. We've come to know that just through the bare knuckle world, how much Florida likes to fight.
Like every other little city has, a dope ass gym with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and then here you have like 4 or 5 main gyms in 10 hours away. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy. Just different world.
Well, you like that, man. If trouble breaks out, man, your city's safe.
Yeah.
Well, ours would be half okay,
Levi, you had a topic that you were gonna.
I just had a question. It was, who was your favorite personality out of all of your promotions that you ever been part of, outside of yourself? Like, was there one that you're like, man, that guy's really fucking cool?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, there's when I've always, especially in the UFC, there was I usually had my team around me, and then whenever I fought guys, I always built up this dislike towards them because that's just how I prepared for a fight.
Sure.
So I was never that guy that would hang out with other people. I always stuck to my gym and to my family, and even today I'm the same way. I don't hang out with anybody other than my family. I'm pretty closed in, and it's a lot of it has to do because of the way I was brought up. I didn't have a family. I was in group homes and juvenile hall, and so my family, I cherish it now. And so I even today as a grown-up, I have a hard time relating to people consistently on a day-to-day basis. And it's not a bad thing. It's not like I hate people or people hate me. I got a lot of people that like me and I like them, but I just don't spend a lot of time outside my family.
Okay. So I guess that could piggyback into another question. Did you have a favorite wrestler growing up?
Yeah.
Pat Patterson and Moondog Mayne.
Really? Okay. That actually doesn't surprise me, man. So after, you've had a trail and a history of complete success, like we were talking earlier, man. There's a question in here that says, when you made it, go ahead.
Oh, so what was your, as you just, stopped, took it all in, it was like, I made it, you know what I mean? Like, this is it. That's, this was worth the work. And what was your first big purchase?
Yeah, I would say that and I remember like it was yesterday. I remember walking into Toys R Us, and I just had a kid, and I carried him in there. He was walking about that time, and I remember I walked by these toy sections, and I was looking to get him like some kind of toy. And when I walked by, I saw this action figure there, and it looked kind of like me, and it had Shamrock on it, and I was like, "What's that?"
No
and
way.
I remember looking down, and there was an action figure of me, and I'd never had one before, and I went, "Wow,
that is insane, dude!"
Just walking through Toys R Us, and you're like, "Whoa, that's the Lycan personality."
That's crazy, man.
That is just walking through Toys R Us. That's dope.
That is an awesome story.
Nobody tells me. I didn't even pay attention. They were making action figures and stuff of me. And I walked through there. I remember seeing it, and I was like, "That's me."
That's badass, man.
Do you still have it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
That's so cool, man.
I got up in my. If we were doing my podcast at my house, I've got all my action figures up behind me, all the ones that, and the new one that just came out, I've got that one up too, but I have them all standing in the background.
We would love to be on your podcast.
Right?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I just need to get home long enough to do one.
Right?
Yeah, you're like with your busy schedule coming up. What's the best airline you like to use? Anything that gets by, or what? Or do you fly private?
No, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, man, I'm not a guy, if I have to pay for it, I'm sitting in economy.
Fair enough, man.
I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. I just don't see. Even though people have the money to do whatever they want to do, and I'm not going to get into my money stuff, but
sure. I
don't understand how someone would spend that much money on first class when the economy seat's just as good.
Right, you're on the same flight.
And and it's going the same exact spot.
The same place.
Yeah.
If you get an upgrade, cool. If not, cool. I'm getting there either way. It doesn't matter.
Well, if a business pays for it, like when I travel, like this time. Businesses usually pay for my first class because we'll say, hey, he needs first class, which some of them will pay, some of them won't. But it's not, That's not me, man. I've never been that guy that goes, hey, I need first. Now, if it's international, that's different.
Oh, yeah.
They have beds. So that's a big difference. But if it's just like in the United States, flying from one place to the other, I'm like, I know me personally, I'm not spending that kind of money for first class. I'm just not.
Right.
Heck no.
Yeah, just like Vegas to Florida or something, you know what I mean? It's like,
It's like,
why?
Speaking of Vegas and all that fun stuff, is Valor going to get involved in active betting or anything like that? Or are they going to bring in a company, a sponsor with betting and big betting with Vegas?
They're going to get involved, obviously. There's a lot of money there to be involved, and there's a lot of opportunity for the fighters to make more money, which is our main goal, is for our fighters to be happy. And so anytime that we can bring something in that helps fighters make more money, we're going to be about that.
So that's an interesting topic, is because there was an announcement a couple days ago that BKFC was no longer allowing fighters to bring their banners that had sponsorships from clothing brands, tool
Stuff
brands,
that they're sponsored by.
energy drinks. Yeah, basically personable sponsors.
Yeah, you know, I don't know the dynamics of it, because sometimes when you bring in a big sponsor, the organization really has no choice, because in order to have them, they're going to want certain things. So I get it. UFC did it too. I see that. I don't know. Like I said, if we get to that point, we're going to find out an alternative for them. If we do it, that they're able to work and be able to earn money off of those sponsors that we bring in. Because the sponsors that come in and sponsor the event, the reason why they do it is because of the fighters.
Yep.
And so if the sponsor comes in and the organization takes that money and doesn't give them any piece of it, to me, that's wrong, because the only reason why the sponsors are coming in is because of the fighters.
Right, exactly.
Good. I'm glad you're on that. I like that you're on that side of the fence.
You have worked with the likes of Mike Richmond on Valor. Is there a likely chance that we'll see him return back to Valor, maybe in BK?
Yeah, as I said, we've seen that on the website too. We're like, hey, we know that guy.
And we're looking forward to put together that fight with JC Lamas and Mike Richmond again. I believe that Lamas came in there and did not use the bout circle the way that Richmond used it. I think that Richmond was able to adjust to it a lot faster with no ropes and no cages, and Richmond had a hard time adjusting. I think now, or not Richmond did it easy. Lamas had a hard time adjusting to it because he was going out of bounds a lot of times. So we want to redo that one, and now that they both know the bout circle and understand the difficulties of it, we want to see those guys fight again.
Okay.
Richmond, we had the pleasure of witnessing Richmond just recently down in Albuquerque against Lorenzo Hunt, and I think he proved the world wrong about going into that fight and how he performed, and then obviously got caught by the champ himself. Did you watch that by chance?
Dude was locked in for days though.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch it, but I know Richmond, and I know he's a great fighter. And I would bet if he fought the champ again, he would win.
He was dominating for a minute, and I'm friends with Lorenzo, and it just when it was weird to see me witness Lorenzo get shook the way he did, because Lorenzo's such a well-rounded fighter, and he was bigger than Mike, much bigger. I mean, not during the fight, but he just is naturally. And
just like his body structure.
He was incredible to witness.
He could cut weight and still stay big, so that's pretty impressive. But
we lost him.
We lost Ken again. Anybody that's in the stream, thank you for stopping in.
There you are. We got you back. Yeah. We don't know what happens there, but it's
that Airbnb.
Yeah, it's the phone. I get phone calls on this thing and it blocks.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Yeah, because I took go back to the Lorenzo Hunt Mike Richmond fight. I took my phone. I was like, dude, there's going to be something cool. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to record just a reaction. I have a 2-minute reation video, and you just see me go absolute berserk.
It was mind-boggling. It would be cool to see Mike back in Valor, just because of the scenery. And now that I feel like it's come our way now. That means it's making its rounds around the BK world. The bare knuckle world is looking. The eyes are on you guys now.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we've got a great team around us, man. I got a lot of guys from the old Jerry. You guys mentioned Jerry Bolander. I've got 2 of his students that actually are on my staff that are working as part owners of this. Actually, the CEO, Matty Miranda, is actually one of the guys that are in partners with me, and he's from Jerry Bolander's tree, the Lion's Den, and then Todd Middendorf, who is our matchmaker. So we got a lot of guys on our team that go way back with the Lion's Den tree, which really brings back that solid foundation. And going back to Mike Richmond, I'm telling you, we're going to try to make that fight again. I don't know when, whether it's this next show or the next one. We want that fight with J.C. Lamas and Mike Richmond, because that could have turned out to be a great fight, except for I think Jason Lamas had a hard time understanding the out of bounds and not having the ropes in the cage to be able to use.
It's such a new thing, man. It really is. It's totally different than anybody else what they're doing right now. And the neat thing about bare knuckle, it seems that every promotion is trying to do a different spin on it. But this is definitely, in my eyes, the most unique. And it's because it has that karate platform. It's open. There's no ropes. There's no chance to really... Because I think sometimes people use rope as a safeguard as well. So, they can bang it out and use it for stability. And it's crazy the aspect that taking away the boundary ropes it enforces for them to really engage.
Right. On top of his question, how long did you plan to get this thing going? Like, how long were you making of the rules, know this and know that?
Yeah.
How long was that process in your head?
Yeah, I said it earlier that I had already processed it in my head when they added gloves back in early UFC, where I felt like, wow, this to me is cheating. You're giving guys an advantage and you're taking away from guys that are very good at accuracy of striking, and allowing tough guys to come in there and swing for the fences and not have accuracy, and taking away the pure submission specialist because of the size of the glove. And I always told myself, man, this is cheating. And so I get the opportunity now with Valor to be able to create that unique platform, the actual true bare knuckle, the no clinching, which like you said, and I've said many times, that it forces engagement. It forces people to have.
Yes, that was one of the very first things I noticed. I was like, there's no running allowed. I said, you can't turn your back, obviously, in a fight anyways. That's against the rules, but you can't run off the ropes by using your back as a guide. You're truly forced to fight, engage fist to fist. It's insane. I love the concept of it.
Yeah, the way it's slanted. Since I keep looking at it, it's just cool.
We have a fan that asked a question again. Sean, he says, with Valor's open concept and the difference in clinch rules, who are some of the modern era fighters that you would love to see compete in Valor?
Well,
name specific.
Right now, my main focus is, I would love, and I've said this on my podcast, and I've said it even after the first fight in Valor, that I want Mark Godbeer and LeVar. I want those two. That's who I want to see fight. And the second one was Mike Richmond and J.C. Lamas. I wanted to see that rematch because there was some controversy. So, instead of reaching out and looking at other people in organizations and seeing whether or not they would compete well in Valor, I'm looking at what we put on and what we produce and what I saw personally, and what I would think is putting two fighters together that would challenge each other. And those are the fights I want to see.
We had another fan who popped up with a fantastic question, and it concerns because he's also in the bare knuckle world. He goes, he owns the company of Kill Eagle Promotions. We work pretty closely with him.
We're heading out to go do his event this weekend tomorrow, actually. So
yep, he's holding
Friday.
He's holding the event in Glendive, Montana. We're going to be shooting out that way. But he had a question: if in your process of landing sponsorships, he's found that it's been really hard for people to get on board because it's bare knuckle. Do you have any advice for him moving forward to try to land some sponsorships and getting sponsors to buy in?
Yeah, because of bare knuckle, he's saying sponsors don't want to get on board.
Yeah,
right. Yes, sir.
He said they've turned away from him.
Yeah, I went through that with UFC in the very beginning, where it was a rough and no one understood it. And so a lot of times you had to get local sponsors for $2,500 or $500 or whatever it was for them to sponsor you personally, but you couldn't go to the big sponsors because it wasn't sanctioned, or it was one of those things where it was risky for them to put themselves on there. And I think that's just something that you've got to be patient with. I think probably within the next year or so, bigger sponsors are going to come forward because it's going to go mainstream, and we're going to put it there. And I think then you won't have the issue. Right now, I think you can get local sponsors to be able to stand up and put stuff, as long as it's going to be on TV. If it's just a local event, it's going to have to be local sponsors because it's not going to be seen anywhere.
Sure.
Now, if it's on TV, that's when you can get bigger sponsors. But I don't see why anyone can't go to their local car dealership or their local bar or whatever it is that you have there and get $100, $200, $300 sponsor to put on your shorts or whatever you're fighting in, and go in there and fight. Because just for now, that's what it's going to take, because this is so young, like the UFC was in the earlier days, where you're not going to get those big sponsors that are going to put big money there because it's not there yet.
Fair, okay. Yeah, fair point.
Speaking of sponsors, we have a fucking fantastic sponsor who is Guerrilla Warfare Apparel. They're also they handle all of our merch as well. The owner, Shane Smith, he also co-owns and co-manages a great fight team that goes under the name Slaughterhouse Management.
Guerrilla Slaughter.
Guerrilla Slaughter, excuse me. And he has a ton of fighters that you might be interested in. I think you guys, it would be good just to link you guys up. Maybe you guys can have a conversation.
So
to help build Valor's roster. Sorry, I seen that you cut out, so I just paused.
Another phone call.
Yeah, you're a busy man. We get it, man. We get it.
And with being so busy, do you have time to view other like bare knuckles such as BKFC?
Yeah.
I get to look at social media and be able to go through highlights and stuff like that and kind of stay up on what's going on. But I think BKFC has done a tremendous job of building the sport, and even BKFC, they've done a great job. Over in England, they've got competition over there. And I think it's doing a great job to be able to build that foundation for guys like myself who can come in and maybe even bring it to another level. So, again, I love the idea that people come in and they put competition on, but I also love the idea of being able to compete with those people in this competition.
Sure. We have a pretty close relationship with BKFC, and I would say that that's probably, they've taken us under their wing, and we really appreciate them. And we've gotten kind of close with their president. We've had some pretty personable conversations. He's been on the show as well. He goes by David Feldman. Have you guys had any conversations?
That's a funny story right there, because before Feldman actually started BKFC, I flew in with my other business partner to meet with him about getting involved with him and the bare knuckle fighting stuff. And it was before they even had the name. And when we got there, I remember hearing him and some of his thoughts of what he wanted to do. And he didn't go into any detailing like that, but he wanted me to go to one of his MMA events. And
he's a busy guy.
With that being said,
I wasn't feeling good at the time when Feldman invited me to his MMA event, so I wasn't able to go. But we did have dinner and we did talk, and I decided that it's probably not the direction I wanted to go because I had a different vision than what he had.
Okay.
And not to say is that his vision was wrong. It was just my vision was different, and I wanted to go with something that was more unique and more fan friendly, I believe.
I would agree. You know,
I think with the level playing field and the no ropes, so there's no distracted view.
That's an excellent fan viewership.
I was gonna say I do like that because I get it. Like sometimes you miss the right shot when there's a rope in the way.
Absolutely, you miss the knockout punch sometimes.
Sometimes.
I have a question for you for mentorship. Are you still in the world of in the gym currently? You know, grappling, striking. Are you working with any fighters? Are you coaching any fighters? Are you still that guy doing that?
There we go.
Did you catch me? Or did
I did.
Okay,
I did.
that's
and
okay.
We both froze up on that.
Okay, so I said it concerns mentorship. Are you still in the world, like in the gym world? Are you actively grappling, still striking? You still training like that? And if you are you mentoring anybody in particular? Like, do you have your hand on a certain fighter? Are you coaching anybody?
No, I basically just maintenance. I don't lift heavy. I don't go in there and do the kind of training you do. I kind of just maintain my health. I sold my gyms years back, got out of that, and focused on promoting fights. And the reason why I started to promote fights is because I wanted to try to make it better. I felt like all the knowledge that I gained over the years, that I could put something together that would help, like I told you before, fan-friendly, friendly to the fighters, friendly to the fans, friendly to the media, and try to build something that's different, not better because people have their own thoughts about what better is, but just different.
Sure, and it is totally different. Like I said, our jaws literally dropped.
Yeah, it's not like
pictures.
karate stage. It's not like karate stage, but it's like almost like an influence on like how karate is. You know,
so
I'm infatuated with the slant. I don't know.
I got a question.
It's just me,
I guess because I'm confused. Is there zero clinch? Like because in the world of BKFC, and I think even BYB does it, is close clinch, where as long as you're actively punching, then you guys are still allowed to clinch in the sense.
Yeah, not like a rest clinch, like a
not a rest clinch. Yeah, an active clinch. Is that allowed?
No, your hands have to stay closed all the time because what we found, or at least my understanding back when I did bare knuckle, was there was people getting poked in the eye, or somebody would grab hair, or they would grab a clothes. It was just too easy to cheat. And so by not allowing the clinch and having guys keeping their hands closed, that they've got to punch out from there, and that makes it more action. If you allow somebody to grab, like you see in the BKFC, you see them holding the head and punching, what's to stop them from their thumb going, their thumb going in someone's eye?
It's crazy that you keep mentioning that because I just read an article about UFC switching their gloves because they noticed how inefficient they were for safety and how inefficient they were for eye gouging, and they curved the gloves. Did you notice that, Levi? The old UFC gloves, the ones Ken used and grew up with, were flatter. They designed them with like a finger curl, so it's designed to help you close your fist. Exactly what Ken is talking about right now.
Okay. I guess I'll have to go back and check it out.
I haven't got my eyes on them yet, but I only seen the picture of them, and it's a definite curvature in the glove now.
I wanted to bring up another little point real quick. Since you said you don't like coach and you only do like maintenance workout, I just want to say we've always referenced our dad's body build to Mr. Ken Shamrock here, by the way.
That is a fact. The dad that we grew up, our stepdad, is built identical to you, my man.
To this day.
To this day. Yeah.
That's not a lie.
To this day. Yeah.
Good for him, man. Good for him.
Yeah, he's a stud, man. He's just stud like you. So it's cool to know another guy to talk to the man that we've compared our dad to all these years.
Yeah, because we grew up watching. we grew up watching wrestling. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's a wrestling nut. So in our house, when we grew up, me and Levi, Levi was, like I said, he was smaller, so I was suplexing him. Now he can suplex me.
That's a fact. I got another question for you. What was your favorite, rivalry? You've had
a few awesome ones. Royce Gracie, Tito Ortiz. You've had
Dan Severn.
Dude, yeah, that's a fantastic question, Levi.
Yeah, I tell you, I was very, very fortunate that during my time, because I became champion, that I fought the best. I fought Severn, who won 2 Ultimates, and I was able to beat him the first time around. There wasn't much of a rivalry, but then I got in with Hoist, which was a struggle because of the gi and the complications with the gi, and what he did was tremendous to be able to showcase a little guy being able to beat a bunch of big guys, and not just once, but he did it 3-4 times, winning tournaments. So it was tremendous to be involved in that. But I don't think during that time that the rivalries were created because he didn't really fight a guy enough times to create that, other than Tito and Hoist, of course. That was a great rivalry in building the sport. He got me the first time. The second time I got him, and the third time was, in my opinion, a no contest. But yeah, so just looking back on the history and the things that I was able to do in MMA is pretty special, because the stuff that happened during those times really helped build No Holds Barred into MMA.
You helped shape what we know as MMA or combat sports today. You are one of those. You and Royce, I think, and Hoist are the men to do it. You guys are the faces of every time I think of pioneering MMA, first and second faces. Those are the faces that come to my mind.
Because they're the first inducted Hall of Famers, that's why.
And then behind that, you had the era that you took on next, which was Chuck Liddell and Tito's era, And you also were actively involved in that, man. You're such an accomplishment for an individual. It's insane.
Yeah, yep.
Well, what we did during that time with Hoist and how we were able to raise awareness to the world about the UFC, and then when the Fertittas took it over, and then Chuck and Randy and Tito all started coming into power. I was a little bit older at that time. I think I was in my late 40s and early 50s. Being able to go up against, pound for pound, probably the best fighter in the world in Tito 3 times. I was very fortunate that I was able to still be healthy enough and still be able to fight good enough to be able to help build that sport, because I don't think without that fight with me and Tito, I think UFC 40, that we talk about the UFC like we do today, because I think it really changed things.
Absolutely it did.
Oh, you guys had a dog fight.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
100%. Eric actually is in the studio. He just typed this. He said, him and Gracie fought for 31 minutes straight. That's crazy.
We watched it the other day at my house, and it was fucking insane, man.
And in an interview, I've seen that you said that was not the fight you were training for. You said, I was ready to go forever, but they had to put a time limit on it. Was that the first time-limited fight in the UFC?
Yeah,
dude, we got to talk about that.
After I got beat the first time, and I'd already won over in Japan, and I felt like I was invincible, and I had to eat humble pie, I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to go back and I'm going to be better. And I remember telling the organization, I said, and I think it was Art Davies, I asked him if I could get a rematch, and I said, give me another chance. I said, I really know that I can do better, and they did. They gave me another chance, and so when I got the opportunity to fight again, I had to go through a tournament. And so I remember I fought through the tournament. I won both my fights, and then Hoist had to go in. He won his first, and then he went to fight I believe it was Chemo Leopoldo, and Chemo put him through the ringer. Hoist beat him, but he was exhausted.
Yeah.
He went like 5 or 7 minutes, something like that. Hoist came back into the ring and threw in the towel, so the next component could get into the finals, and I had to fight twice, which I thought was cheap. Could have let an alternate go in and fight so that everybody had to fight twice. He wanted the guy going into the finals with me to be fresh with just one fight and me doing 2 fights. So when that happened, and I made it to the finals, and Hoist didn't make it to the finals because he came in and threw in the towel and said, "Hey, I'm exhausted. I can't fight no more." I remember in my mind, I shut down. I said, "I'm not fighting." And I remember the reason why I did that was because when I told Art I wanted to fight him again, that's all I trained for was him. And then when he dropped out, I was like, I'm not fighting anybody else because I didn't come for anybody else. And luckily I did that because what it did was it forced them to have to put Hoist in front of me. Because if I would have won that, Hoist could have just bounced off to somewhere else and then not forced it because I had already won. And I literally stepped out of the finals and said, no, I'm here for Hoist. And so then they created the super fight so that I had the opportunity to fight him and that there would be nobody in the way of us preventing us from fighting each other. And when we did the super fight, I remember I trained for a 3-hour fight because I knew that going in there, I wasn't that much bigger than him. I think I weighed about 195 pounds and he went 185 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really a huge difference like against all the other opponents we had to face. And I knew that it was going to have to be an endurance match because the gi eliminated my strength. So I remember training for a 3-hour fight, and then when I got there, they told me that because of the TV and that there was a block of time they had to meet, and the last time it went over or something like that, that they lost money and the big shut down, that they were going to implement a time limit. And so I'm like, here I was training for this fight. All of a sudden now it's bounced down to 30 minutes. And I'm like, well, that's just going to have to do. I can't change my fight strategy. And so I remember going in there doing exactly what I wanted to do, which was flip the tables on him. Like flip the tables on him by meaning like, I'm going to make you move, and I'm going to tap you and hit you and punch you and make you
and
move
you did,
to move into a mistake instead of the opposite, the way they used to be with that heel kick.
Yeah.
To make people think they were doing something and then it forces them to move in trouble. Mm-hmm. I flipped the script on them and said, no, I'm sitting in your guard. I'm going to pound your body. I'm going to put pressure on your stomach and your sternum, and I'm going to headbutt you, and I'm going to force you to make the mistake. And then I'm going to end up beating you. And unfortunately, my plan was working out to the way I wanted to because I was wearing him out. And I figured it would probably take 45 minutes to an hour to get him to where he was so exhausted that I could finish him. But unfortunately, they put the time limit in there, and I did beat him up pretty bad. But he
you did.
Yeah, you did. You busted him open, man. He was leaking, man. There's not a lot of fights that you can look back and see him vulnerable, and he was super, super vulnerable that fight. I was thinking when I was watching it with my boy Eric, man, we were watching it, and I was like, I wonder what the fuck he's thinking 30 minutes into this, because you guys grappled for a long time, man. So the amount of exhaustion that you guys were probably going through.
What's that?
What was your mind thinking at that point, at that deep into the fight?
No, I thought that's what I trained for. I mean, it was exactly what I was planning to do, and I knew he was fading, and I knew it was going to be around that time because I knew he was in good enough shape, but I knew that physically, you just can't take that kind of punishment and that kind of pressure on somebody for anything longer than 30 to 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. And so I figured that's what it was going to take. And I was right, because I think right around that time he started to fade.
You smothered him.
Unfortunately, because they put the time limit in there, I wasn't able to, implement that plan all the way to the fullest.
Yeah.
So I want to take a moment before we lose you, because this is just an important day for actually the show as well. We sponsored a fighter back in the day who became one of our best friends. He goes by Kai Stewart. He got the announcement today that he's going to be fighting in his hometown here in Great Falls, Montana, for the title in BKFC against another Great Falls resident, Louis Lopez. So it's a hometown treat, and I don't want to shout him out. He's down in Albuquerque at Jackson Wink right now. We're thinking about you, buddy, man, and we're so very proud of you.
Both training to get the strap. But Kai's gonna do it.
Yeah, man, we're excited. It's been a journey, and it's been fun to ride it with him. And he's finally at the apex of the pinnacle of what he's been, what he's been working for. And we've been there with him almost every step of the way, and it's been awesome.
Yes, sir. We got a question right here. What was the real reason you weren't part of Brawl for All in 1998? Good question.
The real reason was because I was a pro wrestler, and I went into the organization for people to be able to trust me when I went into the ring, and the real reason was because they wanted me to fight, and I couldn't understand how they were going to want me to fight, not just once, but 2 times in one night for $50,000. I was like, dude, I'm a professional fighter. I don't fight for anything less than $700, $1 million. And you're telling me you want me to fight for $50,000?
Twice?
It made no sense to do that.
Right?
Makes sense, man. If it doesn't make dollars, it don't make sense.
That's what our dad always said.
I'm a professional fighter. These guys are like, wrestlers, and they're not even amateur. And they're wanting me to go in and fight these guys, and I'm like, come on.
Put Gorilla up.
And pay me $50,000 to do a professional fight? I was like, dude, that's my wheelhouse, and I get paid to do that.
Speaking of Gorilla earlier, guess who decided to pop into the live? He said GWA Guerrilla Warfare and Shamrock fixing to link up.
There we go.
Let's go, man.
All the way.
I figured it was coming down the pipeline soon enough, and there he is. The man, he popped in himself. He wants to get at you. He wants to have a he wants to have a talk, man.
And with that being said, shout out to Guerrilla Warfare, as always. You know what it is.
You've given us so much time already. I know that you're a super very busy man, and I don't want to keep you no longer. You were at tryouts, you were doing all this and that, and you had a couple podcasts before our podcast. I have one question for you, and that is, do you have any sponsorships or anybody in particular you want to shout out?
No. Right now, I just want to shout out the Valor BK, man. We're looking to build that. We're looking for fresh fighters, man. Go to valorbk.com. Come check us out. We're doing tryouts. We got 2 more for sure, maybe 3 before our next event in the 4th quarter. You want to be a part of Valor. You want to be a part of the growth of the culture, man. Come check us out.
You heard him. Valor BK. Is it valorbk.com?
Yep, that's it. That's exactly what he said.
It is valorbk.com. That's right.
Okay, before you take off as well, Levi, why don't you lead us with our sponsorships, bro?
All right. If you're looking for the best gear in the fight world, join the Gorilla Gang in 2023. Because the takeover is in process. You know what it is. 20 past 4, your one-stop vape and head shop. 2 locations, 1 in Great Falls, 1 in Helena. 4 locations, 2 in Great Falls, 1 in Helena, 1 in Billings. And Jamie St. Mark's, our newest sponsor, the Halftime Sports Bar, and our dog, Kyle Hudson's of Hudson's Trash Removal.
That's right. Good job, man. You didn't miss anybody.
Never did.
Ken, I would love to get you on for a sequel. We would love to stay in contact with you for sure, my man.
You have to mention this.
We have a very important trip planned for this weekend. Shout out to Kill Eagle Promotions. Shout out to Big Boy. Oh, shit, Big Boy, thank you for making this happen, my man. If you guys are also a guy that I get in contact with who works closely with Ken is Big Boy. If you are a fighter interested in talking with Big Boy, he's a man. He's a dictionary full of information that would be glad to point you in the right direction. Ken, I would like to get you on another time. You have been fucking awesome to us, and I really do appreciate all the time you have given us. I don't want to keep you no longer. Fight for Our Future 8 is coming out, and
This Saturday from Glendive, Montana. We will be streaming it exclusively on the Weekly Bust Facebook and YouTube channel. Join us
exactly
here.
the same way that we streamed our fucking episode tonight. We are going to be streaming the fights for Keel Eagle over in Glendive.
Yes. And yeah.
Ken, you're the man, dude.
Oh, TWB 10 at checkout, GuerrillaWarfareApparel.com.
Ken, thank
See, he understand.
thank you for your time, Ken. We got to have you keep on here as we end the live so we can make sure that the episode gets uploaded properly. So,
But to you, America, we thank you. Thank you for watching the live.
The Weekly Bust.
And with that being said, that's it.